for me to touch paper and feel the different textures of paper is incredibly erotic. It's the way something makes you feel. The very first time that I was ever tied up was very, very intense for me and made me feel extremely powerful, extremely beautiful, which I'd never ever felt in my life before. So it was also very traumatic for me. It was overwhelming, in fact. I started to write and then to draw about it in order to express my feelings about it. Most of the drawings that I was doing originally were bondage drawings, because that was my main focus after I got tied up. I was very fascinated with bondage and I wanted to explore that area more and more. As I got more deeply into doing this kind of work, I then started to branch out into all kinds of erotica, all kinds of fetish, and I also do, you know, like regular nudes as well. I don't just do sexual pictures. Sometimes they're just pretty naked people. Oh, look what I found. This is too funny. When we were little, many, many, many years ago, people in those days took their children to professional photographers and made these sheets, and then they picked out contact sheets, aren't they? Where I'm going now with my artwork probably dates back to way before I ever worked for anybody. It almost goes back to my childhood, where I was a very sexual little person when I was very young. But of course, in those days, you weren't allowed to talk about it. When I was probably even in my 20s, I would actually make my own little drawings, but in those days I was too shy to keep them, and I would rip them up afterwards and throw them away. Baby, I don't want to put my nasty hands on.
Oh, it's okay.
They're all covered in charcoal and white paint and...
Can I show them more?
Of course. You missed the tying up bit.
You missed all the rope excitement.
I love that.
Beautiful.
Exquisite.
Actually, this is not bad. It's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Love it.
I like it too.
I didn't realize she was tying up here too. I guess in the picture I just paid attention to the wrists, but I think it's so good.
Yeah.
I may work on it a little bit.
It's just a great display of like
I may put some
tension and relaxation. Tension and release. It's awesome.
It's good, right? How you doing?
I'm great.
Sorry, I left someone with no clothes on.
No, you could never.
Oh, and take a look at this one. This one you can't see. Which one? On
Look at his great big penis. I did that on purpose.
It's good.
Because he complains if I don't do it big enough.
No. Do you really?
Yes.
I just get so unconscious.
He does. Are we still on camera?
We spoke about this.
It's just another part of the body.
I know.
Oh, but he likes it to be very big.
Well,
So I made it giant size.
Good boy.
Nobody would ever believe it.
Well, I want mine to be as small as possible. I think that would be crazy.
We've got you on camera saying that now.
That's fine. It would be terribly controversial. I'd like that. And get rid of that whole black mystique.
Yeah, oh, there you go. The most engaging part of my work for me is when my model leaves, and she leaves or he leaves me with a drawing which becomes something that I then have to turn into a human being. They're not, the initial drawings are what I call my little skeletons. The challenge then is to allow that person to come out of the paper or the canvas and to build themselves up and to become real in my mind. That's the most exciting and creative part of my work. Stories in my paintings, possibly occasionally, yes. More though, I think there are people in my paintings. And when I say people, obviously there's people because that's what I draw. But to me, they're really alive. They're actual people. And they're people who have their own stories as opposed to my stories that I might want to portray. They're bringing their own stories into my drawings. Most of the smaller drawings and commission drawings that I do will start off as drawings in my drawing book and then go into the computer, and then I'll work digitally on them, because I find that working digitally I can make my work prettier. The way the papers and the canvases hold the paint is a lot more edgy for me, and they're not as pretty. So my prettier works are mostly my digital works. Oh, look at that, I got it almost perfect. Not quite. It's always very hard to know, and I hear other artists say this a lot, as to when is the painting finished. The painting or the drawing is finished when it tells you it's finished, and you have to pay attention. And when I first started doing this, it was a lot more difficult because I didn't hear what they were saying to me. I didn't understand that they were something other than myself. So now I'm starting to understand that better, so I'm letting them tell me when they're finished. And even that can change in that I have one painting here that I sent away to 3 shows, and then it came back and I added something to it when it came back after the 3rd show. And it worked. I find that people have changed their views as a result of what I'm doing, which is very heartwarming to me, because I have understood that there on occasion have actually helped people to get through whatever barriers they have. That happened when I was very early on in my career as an artist, and I was out in Soho selling my work, and I had a limited edition piece of 2 men holding each other. And they were just holding each other in a very loving way. One of the men in the drawing is a dancer and has very big pecs, and people often think he's a woman. And all of a sudden this middle-aged, very respectable couple comes strolling down the street. Turns out they were from Michigan, and they completely fell in love with this drawing. And they wanted to buy it, and this was like a huge sell for me in those days. You know, it was actually over $100, and I was very excited. But my better self got the better of me, as usual, and I said, well, I really have to let you know that this is 2 men before you buy it. And they were horrified. They were like, oh, and they ran. But about an hour later, they came back, and they said to me, you know, we've been sitting in the coffee bar down the street for the last hour, talking about your picture, and we've had to come back and buy it, even though we're from Michigan, and we understand that they're homosexuals, and our friends are going to be horrified with us, but we also understand that this is a drawing of two people who are so in love with each other, and it's such a tender piece, and they're so loving that we have to have it, and we love it, and we've got over our fear of homosexuality here because we want to buy this drawing.
I think it's wonderful that she's a woman who has lived a life that is, you know, rich in various aspects, yet she still chooses to make this work and struggle with it, you know, and she has a passion for it. And I think that the work itself, it's kind of self-explanatory. Everybody that looks at her work almost instantly loves her work. And I find that fascinating because she kind of crosses boundaries with it, that you don't even have to be told that there's this wonderful erotic artist that I'd like you to see. You just say there's this wonderful artist whose work I'd like to see.